Well, last month in this room, at this desk, and almost exactly at this hour, I testified before this committee on a bill headed to the floor the next day, and my testimony turned into quite a remarkable exchange between the chairman and myself on the issue of immigration. The bill in question was from Congressman Yoho of Florida and was intended to gut funding for the immigration executive actions that the President announced in a speech to the nation from the White House on November 20th, 2014. I argued in my testimony that undercutting the President's executive actions and defunding Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program from 2012 was tantamount, in my book, to calling for the blanket deportation of every undocumented immigrant, all 11 million immigrants in the country illegally. Indeed, anyone out of status who comes in contact with our immigration system. I tried to lay out the logical extension of that policy, the more than 55,000 jumbo jets we would need to deport 11 million people, and the thousands of airplanes we would need in addition if we were to send 5 million U.S. citizen children and the millions of legal permanent residents, family members along with them. I discussed that the fruit that would rot in the fields if we drove every undocumented immigrant out of the agricultural industry by making them all priorities for deportation. For as we know, the vast majority of those that work in our fields are undocumented, as some call illegal aliens in this country. If you will recall, Mr. Chairman, you were not too happy with me that evening. You thought it was outrageous to claim that any member of Congress, or to use your words, quote, no one in reasonable Republican leadership, end quote, contemplated anything of the kind. You assured me that you would never contemplate deporting immigrants, quote, unless, quote, they were dangerous to this country and committed a crime. And to suggest anything else was an affront to you personally. Well, now we are discussing legislation designed to make certain immigrants a priority for deportation. They are, one, dreamers who came to this country as children and submitted their fingerprints for a criminal background check and passed that criminal background check. They passed it. No crimes. Most of them have been 3 years working, filling out income tax returns. Got right with the law. The amendments taken together with DHS appropriations bills say they would not only be treated as deportable, would be a serious priority for deportation equal to any criminal. Two, the spouses of military service members would no longer be protected from deportation while their husbands and wives are fighting for this country overseas. Spouses of those who have fought or are currently fighting. We have this incredible broken immigration system that on the one hand gives a man or a woman an order to go and protect the nation and at the same time receives an order for the deportation of their spouse. Actions taken by the President to grant them parole would be lifted so that they would also be made a priority for deportation. Three, the victims of domestic violence who come in contact with local police would be lumped right in with the men who beat them up and abused them. And they would have the same priority for deportation, the abuser and the woman abused. That is something that this administration has taken care of, as the gentlelady from California asserted earlier. Dreamers, military spouses, and victims of domestic violence. These are the three groups Republicans feel are getting too easy a ride under President Obama. A president who has deported more people than any other in the history of this nation. A president who is protested at every event by immigration activists for deporting too many people. Now Republicans are saying we need to deport more dreamers, more military spouses, and more victims of abuse. In the New York Times, my colleague, Matt Salmon of Arizona, said that what the Republicans have put forward is designed to satisfy the most conservative elements of the Republican Party on the immigration and deportation issue. He said he was very happy that Republican leadership was lining up to give the deport them all wing of the party everything they asked for. Quote, this is as close to 100% as we've ever gotten on a tough issue like this. So here we are, reaching back to the President's first term to make dreamers, military spouses deportable. Republicans in the House are saying that the very idea enshrined in American law, that prosecutors should be able to apply the law so that the real threats and criminals are at the top priority and non-criminal and non-threats are not a top priority, the whole nation is thrown out the window. But wait. All of the President's actions are unconstitutional, and he has overstepped his powers in the minds of Republicans. But they make one exception. There is one exception, Mr. Chairman. The President was absolutely acting within the law when he addressed the salaries of our law enforcement officers and put them on the par with federal law enforcement officers. He did that together with the Dreamers and with the parents of American citizen children. The Republicans agree with that, so therefore the President has the constitutional authority. But when the Republicans disagree, the President is a dictator and a rogue. I find it hard to believe that after the incidents we all saw unfolding overseas this very past week, bombings and shootings and hostage taking in recent days, that your side wants to play political theater with a federal agency, the biggest law enforcement entity we have, the entity charged with guarding our ports, our cargo, our borders, our airports, and our coasts. I just don't see how this is good politics, good policy, or a way of assuring the American people that the United States Congress is in the hands of a Republican Party that's doing everything to keep us safe. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gutierrez. Mr. Castro.